This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 98. Welcome to Comic Geek Speak. I'm Brian Deemer.
I'm Jamie D.
I'm Matt.
I'm Kevin Moyer.
I'm Peter Rios.
We are sexy bitches, yeah!
And welcome to the show. This episode of Comic Geek Speak is sponsored by eGerber Products, the industry leader in long-term storage sleeves for your collection. Visit them at www.egerber.com. eGerber Products, the protector for the collector. And
I just put all my 50 issues of Titans in there.
Did you?
Finished it, yeah, and they
look fantastic. So I know I have to place an order for more. I'm really being lazy about that, but
yeah, well, let me know because I got to get some too.
All right.
You're getting the 2 mil?
Yeah, the 2 mil.
Yeah, that's all you need.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Is that bulletproof?
Those are the ones that are bulletproof.
Yeah, for those people who haven't seen it, go on our website and look at the Frecking Swear comic strip, and there's one of the recent ones. It makes fun of Peter and Mylars. It's funny.
I have to say, if you know Peter enough, you know even at that close of range, he still wouldn't be able to shoot that thing. He wouldn't be able to hit it. And on another note, actually, I think it's just really. I mean, I love what Mike did with it, but it's nice to see Frecking Swears out there. I think they've been really funny and
very frequent.
And they're coming in real quickly. Yeah.
I guess we should say it's a strip on our site, and we've opened it up to other artists, and we've gotten at least 3 or 4 5 maybe even different artists attacking it.
And in color too.
Go check it out on our site because if you have any interest, it's awesome.
Yeah, Mike, you're gonna have to
step it up.
Yeah, release one here and show these guys that you're still in the game.
Yeah, raise the bar, brother.
That's right. It's cool though. They're very awesome. And the one guy, Rob Seraphin from the UK, he was on the forum. We were talking about him, and he was challenging all the rest of the guys. He's like, all right, guys, let's see if we can't get one every day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we'll see if they start coming in even faster.
Excellent.
A reminder. A little time left, but if you want to get in our Book of the Month club, it's Aranya, Heart of the Spider, Volume 1 Digest. And you can get it at instocktrades.com for 40% off. Also, we have 2 contests going on. The contests end at the end of the month, so you have a little time left to get in on those as well. For details on those, because there are a lot of details, go to our website, comicgeekspeak.com. I got an email I wanted to bring up here. Give me a second. This one's from Philip Beale. He says he only recently discovered our podcast and already love it. He's writing an answer to one of the questions in one of our recent podcasts. A listener called in or wrote in and asked what you guys thought about Gatos' work on Alias. I have the entire series, and I have to say it is one of my favorites, and I feel that the art just adds to the writing style in so many ways. As one of your crew said, it suits the comics writing style and genre. When Alias ended and the series was renamed The Pulse, I heard Mark Bagley was going to be taking over the art duty, and I was very disappointed. Don't get me wrong, I love Mark's work on Ultimate Spider-Man, among other things, but his style just did not suit this title, just as Gatos' work would not suit She-Hulk or Thunderbolts. All in all, though, I was surprised how much you guys said that it would take time to adjust to the style of Gatos' work. When facing a change of artist in a regular book, this can certainly be the case, but when picking up a new title, surely we, the readers, should have no preconceptions. As you guys said earlier in the same podcast that black and white books should not be ignored, then this applies to original or even just plain new artists. Well, I should be off. I can't wait for the next episode and the 100th. Keep up the good work, and I'll be joining the forum soon. Philip Beale. So I wanted to read that because I thought he kind of made an interesting point about how in that same episode we talked about can't overlook black and white and not to pick on you and Shane, it was Peter and Shane who said that they think that there's going to take them one or two issues to get used to Gatos's art style because it's not what they're used to seeing in comic books, and so he was pertinent to that, and I thought he kind of made a good point about since it is a new series, you don't have to adjust from anything. So
well, you do have to adjust to what your preference is, though. There's that, and yeah. I think that's kind of what I said. Shane was the one more about that,
and that's what I was gonna add to it. The fact that it's a new series or not doesn't have anything to do with adjusting to an artist. It's adjusting to a style. If you're not used to his style, of which I do enjoy, I like his stuff, and actually I think he's still on the Pulse, isn't he? He's I'm pretty sure I just read the last couple Pulses.
I know.
Yeah. I read the last couple Pulses. I'm pretty sure he was back on, but that. Where was I going with this?
It took me a while to get used to Tony Harris.
Yeah, I mean,
really appreciate him on Starman.
Yeah, it's really a style you have to get used to. It's not so much the fact that it's a new series. It's just whatever you were used to as a kid or have been used to in comic books. There are different artists that are their style is going to take a little bit of getting used to. There have been series that have had great reviews as far as written series, but people won't pick them up because they don't like the artist, and that's a
shame.
It is a shame, but it's one of those. If it's foreign, I mean, how many people were talking about Paul Pope when we got him, and they were saying, "Well, I really didn't care for his artwork on Batman." I keep hitting the damn microphone. I'm so out of practice now. I've been away for like 5 of these. They didn't like his artwork on Batman, but they loved his artwork on other stuff. It's still just getting used to it. If you're not used to it, and there's really nothing wrong with it, and you really can't disparage somebody for saying that they're just not, they're not used to that style artwork.
And it shows that when you have a good team, that the artist contributes to the story, and it is an actual team, that when you see the final product, that you're everything's enjoyable. Mm-hmm. The visual as well as the reading part of it, and everything just kind of adds to each other and complements each other. So when you see a change, an abruption in that, when you see a different style come on, it's not like Tommy Lee Edwards or somebody like that came on the book and kind of kept that same sort of feel to it. Mm-hmm. It is an abrupt change. So to him, I can understand it being like a change in the feel, but it doesn't mean that the book is any less.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to see him on any bright book like a Superman or something like that, but an Alias book, things like that, he definitely has a good feel for that. I mean, a Daredevil,
and
along those lines.
That's what when the original email that this whole topic was based off, that's exactly what he said. Mm-hmm. He's so yeah.
Oh, and I agreed with that 100%.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to quick... This episode will air on Monday, January 23rd, and I just want to quick spotlight some books that shipped the previous Wednesday because we've been talking about them. That Dark Age, Grim, Great, and Gimmicky comics by Tomorrow's Publishing came out in 1995 to look at the Spawn era, the Image era, anything after Watchmen, Dark Knight, things like that by Mark Voger. The Flash Rogue War trade paperback shipped. Sergeant Rock Prophecy #1 shipped by Joe Kubert. And that's the book that in his interview we were talking about. Sentinel Squad 1 #1 shipped. Trying to hit like some #1s and things like that. Transformers Infiltration #1 shipped by IDW. Walking Dead 25 came out, and apparently that's the promo for that is Everything Changes. I don't know what that means, but
they all come to life.
Yeah, if you're buying that monthly. If you missed X Factor #1, there is a second print that shipped that Wednesday. So if you missed that, you can check that out as well. So I just wanted to quick give those a shout out.
Cool.
And Infinite Crisis.
Well, that's a given.
What's that?
On that note.
You guys, you're able to spit out your top 5 vehicles. We did this in one of the other previous epidos, and
so this is any vehicle, any type,
anything that flies, moves in the water, air, road, whatever.
Any vehicle.
Like my
vehicle, you dutchy.
Or vehicle.
Vehicle.
Like my list was Blackbird, Legion Cruiser, Sheba from Suicide Squad, Hawkeye, Sky Cycle, and Brainiac's head ship, the big skull ship.
Cool.
So things like that. Shane, talked about Blue Beetle's Bug. What was yours, Matt? What were some of yours?
I had like the Mooncopter.
That's what I was going to say, of course, but
The
that's
Quinjet.
obvious.
Batmobile, Javelin, 7. What the hell else did I have?
Quinjet? Did you have the Quinjet?
No.
Or Shane had the Quinjet,
Yeah.
maybe.
I don't remember.
He also had the Fantastic Car.
That's what I was
Shane.
I was just thinking Fantastic Car.
Yep. When you said it to me, I started. Let's see the things that pop in my head first.
Uh-huh.
And the things. Well, the Mooncopter was one, but there's a couple different ones. So I like the one that's shaped like the actual crescent moon.
That's the one I
Yeah,
want.
that's cool. And the '60s Batmobile in the TV series, I loved it. I had the toy as a kid.
Yeah.
And I just freaking loved that car. I think that was such a unique and, I don't know, stylish vehicle. So I like that. I didn't really care for a lot of the Batmobiles in the comics. It didn't come at me that way, and I guess it's just being used to seeing that. So that was it. Fantastic car, and as plain as simple as it is, I always kind of like the concept of that oval.
So you like the tub-shaped one?
Yeah, I thought that was, it's so simple in design, but yet it's so effective. It's so cool. When they got into the bigger one where it's the 4 different sections and it can separate and each one's like a separate plane and stuff, it kind of...
That's the one I like. That's the one as soon as I think of Fantastic Car, I think of that one, and being able to fly off into their own little sections.
Which they could do with the other one as well. It's just that one was more stylish and more themed of aircraft kind of thing. Where I thought the thing, with the tub-shaped one, the way you describe it, is kind of unique in itself. That it is a flying craft, but it doesn't look like a flying craft. So it, and it can segregate off into 4 different sections and stuff. So it's just what kind of sticks with you. The Blackbird, the way it's, I don't know if it's always been that way, but the way they kind of design it now, not the way it looks like the Stealth 1 bomber or whatever, but it has that unique, real bird shape look to it and stuff. I mean, that is just a very cool design, and I think that's awesome. And no, not the Supermobile. I was thinking the Spider-Mobile.
Spider-Mobile, yeah.
Spider Buggy.
The one that could transform into a little VW bug, But I also think of the thing Sky Cycle, the one that he used to do in Marvel 2 in 1.
Yeah.
He had that Sky Cycle that he used to ride.
Fly around.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, that's why I like Hawkeye's Sky Cycle, the one he had in that miniseries.
Yeah, which is more looked like a cycle in a way.
Jet ski.
Yeah, like that kind of appearance. So it was kind of his steed.
You gotta love some old stuff like the old Arrow car, and just trying to think. I had one in my brain. See, the whole thing is everybody seems to have the same stuff. Yeah. Everybody has a Quinjet. Everybody has some kind of thing like that. I was thinking stuff like Nick Fury's car. I mean the flying car.
Shield, yeah, with the tires.
Brian had the helicarrier down.
And I was going to say the helicarrier too. That's kind of cool.
Kind of cool.
Yeah, kind of cool. X Factor when they redid X Factor when they had their base, which was a sentient ship.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was kind of a neat idea as a vehicle because it would fly around. They could use it to travel.
Did the Starjammer ever have a specific design?
Ooh.
Like the Corsair ships?
Yeah, the Starjammer ship.
I don't think so. Not that I remember. I don't remember that much about those. I was never that interested.
I never paid that much attention to it. Yeah.
It just popped into my head. We also went into the Argo and the Yamato Star Blazers.
Well, if you're going to do like cartoon shows, then give me Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Give me Hong Kong Fooey's little car that he could hit the gong and turn into whatever he wanted to.
And the Mach 5. And
oh, we forgot about the Mach 5.
Yep.
I didn't even think of that.
Speed
Racers Mach 5. That was awesome. I mean, I think of it as a kid, like the Spider Buggy. As corny as it is, when I was a kid, I was like, with him and the Human Torch making that thing, and having the headlights pop down and the web shooters popping out, and the whole design of it was just kind of the Doom Buggy design and shit was kind of cool. So I don't know, but those are the things that kind of stuck out to me as a kid. I mean, I know they're corny and stuff, some of them, but those are the things that kind of stick out to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely the Mach 5. I'd have to throw that in there. That's got to be the ultimate vehicle as far as I'm concerned.
Well, yeah.
All right, so no more car talk. All right. Let's.
Brilliant.
All right. Anyone who listens to NPR will get the joke. we were going to talk about Valiant Comics. We have from forum activity. I would say that we had a lot of forum people who were fans of Valiant, and a lot who are very curious about reading Valiant. Which, of course, now is a very good time to read Valiant since it's all almost free. It's all in 50-cent boxes everywhere.
So this is our spotlight on Valiant. We're going to move away
right.
from characters and go into an overall company.
Well, personally, I was a big fan of Valiant. Jamie, you were too?
Oh, yeah. I kind of got in on the ground floor a little bit late, but still with enough time to be able to go back and get most of the issues that I really wanted to get. I was pretty much reading everything that they put out there, with the exception I could never really get into Magnus Robot Fighter.
Ooh, I held
that.
off on that, but then I ended up liking it a lot.
That was one. I got into it in a way. I would read it because I was reading everything else, but it just was one I never could get into. I didn't get into it early enough to get like the original issues of the Harbinger. Those were always the tough ones to get. The Harbinger series, which was a series that was their X-Men series, a series of young teen superheroes, and the reason they were so expensive was because they put like a coupon in all of their first issues, and you could get the Harbinger Zero. So it pretty much tells you what era this book came out in. But that was really big and tough. They were all tough to find. All the ones with the coupons still in them because everybody was like sending away for it. My personal favorites were Harbinger, the Barry Windsor Smith, Archer, and Armstrong. I thought was an excellent
best one.
series, very funny. Exo-Man of War was another one I really enjoyed. That was Valiant's answer to Iron Man. And actually Iron Man with Quesada did a storyline very much like Exo-Man of War for a little while, with like a living... It was so much. It wasn't just a man in armor. It was a man in sentient armor, and he was a caveman who had found this. And really, it's one to dig out. Go find it, and you won't be disappointed. Bart Sears artwork, and I actually think some of the best Bart Sears artwork, because he really, I don't know if he was concentrating more on his stuff, but it was cleaner than a lot of his stuff is now. His stuff now, I feel, a lot of times is rushed, and especially I can't think of what series he was doing there for a while.
Captain American Falcon.
Yeah, and it was just really wasn't very good. I just didn't like his stuff. But this is early Bart Sears, and it's really pretty good.
It's really when he hit his stride, I think, as an artist, because I used to read his stuff that when he had like the Hero Alliance from Innovative Comics, and it's a definite difference when you saw him do the stuff at Valiant, and he had more of a style that distinguished him, as an individual artist.
Yeah. Also, I'm trying to think, because the originals were, you had Magnus Robot Fighter, you had Harbinger, Solar Man and Atom, Rye.
Yep.
Oh, that's right.
And I'm trying to think if there was a fifth one in that.
For the originals.
Yeah. But those were the originals. Rye was also one I enjoyed a lot. It was it took place in the future. It was where Japan was actually a giant floating city, and like I said, had a very Oriental. Oh, there I go again. Sorry,
Asian.
A very Asian feel to it. So I really enjoyed that one. That was another one I really enjoyed. And then they went through a little bit of a boom where that's when you got your Archer and Armstrong, your Eternal Warrior. That's when Exo-Man of War came out.
Hardcore
not at that time.
Yeah,
that was
a little later.
That was after. That was pretty much after their big crossover, their big Unity crossover.
Okay.
When Hardcore came
out.
So
let's just turn back a little bit. And when Valiant first came out, it was very much under the radar.
Because when they first came out, they were selling stuff like Super Mario Brothers.
Well,
and those
when the Valiant universe.
Yeah, but I'm just saying when Valiant as a comic company came out, that's what they really started out with, was the Super Mario Brothers, and then they kind of got Jim Shooter involved, and he got a lot of the old Gold Key licenses, and that's when you got your Dr. Solar and stuff like that.
What I have here is Voyager Communications was formed by Jim Shooter. and they did licensed wrestling and Nintendo products. Mm-hmm. And then in '91 was when they opened up their Valiant line using the Western Publishing Gold Key characters like Magnus and Solar. Other mover and shakers were like Bob Layton, Barry Windsor-Smith, John Hart, Steve Mazarsky, as well as Jim Shooter. And it didn't take long for Jim Shooter to leave. He left in the mid-1992, just as a lot of new titles were emerging.
Yeah, Dave Michelini did some writing there too.
So I don't know. They probably published of the main, like the ones you said that started pretty much at the same time. They probably got about 8 issues or so of those out, or something, or 10, maybe 10. I think there was 10 because wasn't that Solar all black cover? Wasn't that number 10?
Yeah.
And then Unity started, which was their big crossover thing. And that's when people finally started to say, oh, maybe I should pay attention to Valiant. And I remember it was funny because Dave at the comic shop, every week he'd tell me, Brian, are you reading these Valiant books? These are great. Solar, it's a great book. And I'd be like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Some crappy independent book. I don't want to read it. I got Spider-Man, new Todd McFarlane Spider-Man, or I got to read it, or whatever, you know. And then finally Unity came out, and I started paying attention. And then, lo and behold, all 10 of those... And I remember the black issue of Solar being right there on the shelf, and I could have picked it up for $2.50 or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then, a month later, it was $100, and every single one of those first 10 issues of all those series were $100 or more because they had such small publishing runs.
And we just gave away... but we gave away Solar 10 way back in one of our Stumpy Hornies for free.
Right, yeah, because now they don't have much value.
Yeah.
But I remember, and then of course they rose like superstars to big sales and everything for a while, and then of course plummeted again. But when Unity came out, I was all into that. I mean, it was cool. I don't know how. I'm trying to think why it was different, or what made it so special, what made it so good. I guess just great stories and consistent art. I don't know. It was as simple as that.
For me, it was just a matter of taking. They had built this universe that they could interconnect very easily, but it wasn't necessary to read everything that was connected. If you can even understand what that sentence just said, what I just said, it was a very, it was a universe. Like I said, it was easily accessible, yet if you read everything, you got the bigger picture. And that's, to me, what Unity did. It took all of those characters, put them together, gave you new clues on some of the characters' origins, new, great things like that. And that, to me, is what made Unity so much fun. And then just coming out of Unity, there was so much that they did with the characters again, and introduced new characters, new series, and so on and so forth. And it was at a time when a lot of people were buying on speculation. Right. And that's one of the reasons it was such a popular thing, because there were unfortunately a lot of times when I would talk to people, well, what do you think of it? Well, I didn't read it. Well, what do you mean you didn't read it? You just bought 5 copies. Well, yeah, I'm just I'm putting them away. So, I mean, that after Unity, unfortunately, was when the boom really hit, and the speculator boom was there, so...
See, and for me, the Unity boom didn't catch me as it did, like you and Brian, because
And me as well. That's when I got into it, too.
See, I had...
Crossover.
I went and... it was one of those, what do you call it, by irony or, chance or whatever you want to call it, coincidence, I don't know, but...
Fate.
I had gone to a flea market down in Renninger's, down in Adamstown, and I was there with my dad and on a Sunday, and I went to this one stand, and some guy had some comics there, which you go to places like that, you don't expect much, So I started fishing through them, and I came upon some Gold Key Magnus Robot Fighters and Dr. Solar, Man of the Atom, and I was like, wow, these, and they were only like $0.25 a piece or something like that, and they were in really good shape. They were in plastic. And just for the just for the covers alone, I thought it was worth it, to check these out. So I checked them out and kind of started to, just to page through them and get a feel for them and stuff. And then that's when I heard that they were coming out as Valiant characters, and I thought, well, this is kind of cool. So I immediately started picking up those 2 books from the get-go, and I really enjoyed Solar. That was one of my favorites, and I really liked Magnus. It was something that it would seem like it would be so trivial and so kind of silly, yeah, but it actually was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was. I'm, me, my memories are vague, but I just remember thinking that I would not like that book at all, but I read it because of the crossover, and then ended up really, really enjoying that book. My personal favorite was no question about Archer and Armstrong. Barry Windsor Smith artwork, and he wrote that too. Or no, I think he wrote it.
He definitely wrote it.
And just the whole thing, and then of course it crossed over an Eternal Warrior, and so that book was fun. And then, man, that's good stuff.
I mean, that was basically a whole time traveling family type of Eternals. With Armstrong being an Eternal and the Eternal Warrior, of course, being an Eternal. And then they had a brother Ivan who they called Time Walker, and so that was right there. You had 3 whole series that kind of all crossed over into one another, into a cohesive universe.
The titles that you guys mentioned, I just took a quick look through. Let's see what year this is. 1993. No, actually 92. So, say near the end of 92, Solar was up to issue 18. Magnus was up to 21. Harbinger was 14. Exo-Man of War was 13. Shadow Man?
I was about
that
to say Rags Morales artwork in that.
That was up to 11.
Kind of a it was a kind of a vampiric. You really weren't sure. New Orleans was a background. He was a jazz player, and that was a pretty interesting one. I mean, that came out kind of around the time they had Lestat, the Interview with the Vampire movie and stuff like that. So that was kind of their answer to that. It was an
I
interesting
enjoyed
series.
that one a lot.
Yeah, that was one I was intrigued, and they took it in a certain direction. I didn't expect them to take it, and kind of by the time the series was over, I wasn't liking it that much. But again,
it's funny because whenever I hear of Rags Morales, that's the book that I think of, because that's when I learned his name, and so for me, he will always be the guy who drew that book. Yeah. And there was Bloodshot.
Bloodshot, yeah.
He was
Bloodshot,
like their version of Punisher.
Yeah. Then the other ones I think you said Archer and Armstrong was up to 7. Eternal Warrior 7. Hardcore was up to 3 at that time. And then Bloodshot was number 1, just came out. And then they eventually came out with Rye and the Future Force.
Because they canceled Rye and then they brought him out Rye and the Future Force. There was Turok Dinosaur Hunter.
But they didn't start over at number 1, did they?
Yes.
Didn't it just roll into the number?
No, it was new. That was again new number 1 for your speculating audience.
Remember that.
They also mentioned, you said Turok.
It was Dr. Mirage.
Yeah, Dr. Mirage, and
Visitor.
That was Sean Chen, right?
Yeah.
No, that was Bernard Chung.
Oh,
Bernard Chung.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
But the artwork was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
It was great artwork. Yeah.
Secret Weapons.
Secret Weapons.
Later.
Yeah.
Ninjak.
Yeah.
Ninjak. Joe Quesada.
Joe Quesada. Yep.
I loved Turok. I thought that was a very fun book. And
that was another Bart Sears book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he came off of Exo to draw Turok. And that was, that's a cool concept in it. Native American hunting dinosaurs. It's just kind of cool. Very primal.
And one of these Wizard articles that I pulled out, and thank you for Kevin for loaning me these so long ago. Sure, you can keep them. Well, okay. They were great reference material.
They pay off,
Hell yeah. When Jim Lee did the cover for Hardcore #1, I forget who did I think it might have been Bob Layton who did the layout, and then he finished it. They actually gave him U2 tickets they were out in San Diego, and he was so busy at the time because of Image, and they said, how can we make this cover stand out? We got to, again, like you guys saying about the market, the speculator market, and he's like, so they gave him. Jim Lee was like, no, I'm too busy, can't do it. So they, what can we do for you? And he's like, well, I'm sure you couldn't get me U2 tickets. So they did. They managed to. Bob Layton managed his connections. They gave it to him, and then he called back and said, okay, I got to do something for you now. And they're like, no, it's fine. We'll you're busy. And they're like, no, I got to do something. So then he wound up doing the cover. So I thought that was kind of an interesting
cool.
little snippet.
Make it work.
There is a great website. It's actually called valiantcomics.com, and I saw they had a booth at San Diego this year or last year, and I went past and I said, "What the hell? Valiant's back in business? What's going on?" And they had all the characters there. I'm like, "This is great!" And I realized it's just fans of the comics have developed this website to promote them and keep it going. And they paid for a whole booth at San Diego just to promote their website that is free, and you just go and read stuff about Valiant Comics. It's amazing, but it's pretty much got everything there is to know about it. So,
what'd you think of Unity when that came out? Because I liked it. I mean, for me, like I said before, I'm a crossover sucker. So when I saw
Frank
that,
Miller covers,
and I was like, I gotta get it. So it was like 18 or 19 issues.
It was a lot of issues.
Yeah.
I recall liking it. I couldn't tell you why now, but I
read through it and it appealed to me. And although I didn't follow through with the universe because there was just so much else going on at the time, I did stick with that. And I thought as a concept of having the bookends and then having the main story in each issue, it wasn't new, but still it made me buy the books and maybe. I went through how many of them, and then sold them to our friend Alex for $15 or $30 later. But
they were all pretty cool triptych covers too. They all the covers connected to make one giant image. So that was another neat, and again another speculator market type thing that they did. But it was still neat.
In one of these articles, I have to read some of this because they talk about the market and about gimmick covers and things like that. They early in the Bob Layton or one of the guys in this interview mentioned that they purposely wanted their books to be collectible, so they didn't print millions of copies because at that time Image was printing copies out the wazoo. You were making wallpaper out of them, but they purposely held the numbers down because they wanted their books to be collectibles. Hold on a second. This guy, what's his name? John Hartz. He was one of the managing guys. I think the Valiant philosophy is to side with the collector, not to overprint, so that the product remains collectible. The direct market is such a monster now. They can turn around and ship a book in 24 to 36 hours. And then he continues on. If books become non-collectible, comic stores are going to become nothing more than glorified newsstands. Once that happens, there'll be no reason to collect comics. By keeping a book collectible, it keeps speculators interested in the market. So it's kind of interesting to hear at that time, hear him say something like that. What's that?
Flip the page and look at the quote from Bob Layton.
Bob Layton says, I work too damn hard at these books to have somebody shove them in a bag and not look at them. But then you hear what this guy say, and then it continues on... we want to allocate, but if we have to do so, we'll do it fairly, straight across the board. Everybody's orders will be cut on a percentage type deal. Eventually, speculators are going to wake up to the fact that if everybody buys 6,000 copies of the same book, that they're going to go out of business, ending up with books nobody wants. It's survival of the fittest, like the jungle. I think you're going to see an increased level of quality in the marketplace. With as much product as there is out there, readers are starting to search out for quality material. So it's kind of funny that he's kind of a little all over the place with what he's talking about. Steve Mazarski says, there's an increased level of marketing today. It used to be you made the books, put out the books, and people bought and read the books they liked. It's not like that anymore. Major companies are all vying for the same shelf space and are marketing like crazy for it. And then eventually they go into cover gimmicks. Hold on a second. If anybody has any other thoughts, spit them in now. That's why I look for this.
I understand what he was saying about the speculator market. I mean, I don't think he was saying he was perpetuating or creating the speculator market, but I think he was saying to keep them low, that that will keep the value of them, which I have no problem with, as long as they also then wind up reprinting them in like second volumes, which doesn't hurt the first volume. And it's that's all you have to do is really look at DC and look at what they have done lately with all their books. if there's demand out there for them, then reprint them. But just if you want to keep the initial print run low, that's fine. I think what happened with Valiant, unfortunately, was they got too big for their britches. Bob Layton thought he could do this without Jim Shooter. And between Bob Layton and I can't think of who the other gentleman was.
Dave Lapham.
Well, it was Lapham, but I think it might have been that Mazarsky guy. They pretty much pushed Jim out. And unfortunately, it was really, I think, Jim's vision for this universe that kept it so good, because they maintained it for maybe a year or so, but you could really see as soon as he left, you could really see a lot of the quality on most of the books drop. And that's just a personal point of view for me. And then they kind of went into a tailspin when they were overproducing and doing exactly the opposite of what that article said.
Yeah.
The chromium cover on Turok and overproducing it, the chromium cover on Bloodshot and overproducing it, chromium cover on Ninjak and overproducing it. They just flooded the market, whereas had they maybe not come out with as many series as they did and just made what they had out there better, I think it would have served them a little bit better. But
more or less stand aside what they initially intended to do, rather than get distracted and get caught up in all the other brouhaha of comic industry. And
here's an exchange sort of on this whole thing. And again, I'm reading this from a Wizard. Wizard says, "It seems the marketplace is very healthy these days. Given the fact that you do shy away from gimmicks as sales tools, do you feel they'll go away or proliferate in the future?" Now, this is at a time before all this stuff that you guys just mentioned. Steve Mazursky says, "Everybody has a different definition for gimmick." Wizard says, "I mean gimmick as opposed to innovation. You do something new, it's innovation. More than once, it's a gimmick." Bob Layton says, "I don't think we really do gimmicks." Steve says, "We do premiums. We do value enhancements, things like that. I think the things that aren't value enhancements will eventually go away. You need to add value to a book to set it apart from something else on the shelf, whether it's a thick cardstock cover or a chromium or a hologram or a die-cut cover. The things that don't add value will simply have to go away." Bob says, "I think the guy that does a real hologram cover that actually works will make a ton of money." Steve says, "Or the first 3D. We create entertainment. If it's a collectible, great. We want to give value to our readers, of course, but we're in the entertainment business first." So it's funny, like you just said, there were eventually everybody does get sucked into.
Yeah.
And I just read, I don't know if it was in conjunction with this article or somewhere else, that one of those Valeria the she-bat, one of those came with a fur-covered cover.
Yeah.
I'm like, just when you think you've heard it all about the covers, you hear something like that. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, well, now that wasn't Valiant. That was
I know.
Okay, I take
it was continuity.
Yeah.
But I just meant,
as far as gimmicks,
talk about gimmicks.
Well, yeah.
Crazy.
Taking it to the next level.
So when did Acclaim come into the picture? Because I had stopped reading by then.
Yeah, that was pretty much when they stopped.
1990, spring of 1994.
Yeah.
Valiant was acquired by Acclaim. Bob Layton was still. Most of these guys were still part of it, and that's when things just, I guess, started to fall apart from there. Yeah.
Yeah, because with Acclaim, I mean, I'm pretty sure, and I'm again off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure that's when they went into the Magic the Gathering comics. They did a lot of stuff with that. Their focus kind of went away from the superhero universe and into more other licensed products that they did stuff for. So it's kind of almost full circle. And then I guess after that is when they tried it one more time with stuff like Quantum and Woody, and
which was brilliant.
Yeah,
so good.
Which was I've always wanted to get into that series. I've always
it's brilliant.
Wanted to try to find those trades and read them.
Such a great read.
That was Christopher Priest and
Let's go back
Mark Bright,
and actually, for those people who haven't read Valiant, actually talk a little bit about what each one was and why it made it. Like we've talked kind of over about it, but like Magnus the Robot Fighter, basic concept of that was.
It was again futuristic. He was in a society where I don't know why I'm the one doing it, because I said I'm the one that didn't like it. He was basically what the title said. He was a robot fighter. There was there like arenas where he would go into, and he had what it was is somehow he had skin of like steel. so he was able to hand-to-hand fight robots. And there was some kind of...
I mean, wasn't it like in
like an uprising type thing? And
it's like in the 3,000 years, you know what I mean? So it was way in the future, and where robots were such a prevalent part of life, you know, and it actually was a society. It was almost to the point where robots outnumbered the human beings.
Yeah, well, the humans were outnumbered by robots.
Right. So, you know, to have this guy, this warrior, this guy who actually could stand up to these robots was something unique, something that they capitalized on that, and it wasn't just like a gladiator thing, but there was also backstory behind all it, and the things that people trying to use robots to manipulate and to do, evil deeds, and and the whole thing. So I mean, he got all wrapped up in the whole. It took it to a whole other level as far as what he was as a character to that.
I have here Magnus Robot Fighter #1. Before it was at Valiant, it came out in February of 1963, and at that time there was a period of time where it outsold Superman.
Wow. All the old gold keys stuff.
Let's see. I'm trying to look at who created Russ Manning. Editor Craig Chase was considering Russ Manning for a new comic book set in 4000 A.D.
And for those of you who like to get like the archives, I know there are some people out there like them. Dark Horse actually has been reprinting Magnus Robot Fighter and Dr. Solar in those old Western Publishing Gold Key in a hardcover archive version. I guess for like $49.95. I haven't seen the inside, what the inside reproduction looks like, but the outside looks really nice. It'll look nice on my shelf somewhere. So if somebody wants to buy me them, they can send it to me. Just kidding. I'm kidding.
What about Solar? What was the basic premise there?
He was a scientist.
Yeah, at like a nuclear power plant.
Right, and he gained these powers through the whole. Again, you're looking at the relativity of time in the '60s with the whole nuclear and the fear and all that. So he developed his powers from the nuclear facility, and he actually became like a living reactor. His body was basically had like a shell around it, and inside was energy. So he actually transformed. It wasn't just that he gained powers. It's actually he still looked the same, but he gained the powers and abilities, but he was no longer really human. And I don't know, something for me that's the book that really kind of stood out for me as far as that character, because it was a unique concept that dealing with the whole atomic power and fighting those villains and going in space and.
Now, if I'm wrong, correct me. Wasn't in the first ones for Valiant? Wasn't it like something happened in #1, and he had to figure out what the cause of it was, and that was like the first ones all the way up to #10, where he found out that, and I don't want to spoil it, but he found out what had happened, and that was a big thing with 10.
Right.
I thought I just it's been so long since I've read them.
In the middle of each of those, they had like those pull-out stories.
What about those?
Because there was a story that the comic was, but then in the
it was a pull-out map. Once you put it all together, it showed you like the devastation of what had happened.
But there also was a little story built around that too. Yeah,
right.
It was like because that I remember in I don't know if it was maybe it was that Black issue that those pull-out issues were done by Barry Windsor Smith, but I don't think the story around it was.
No.
I forget. But yeah, there were and then that last panel was that whole big huge thing.
I have a poster of that panel.
Yeah,
it was
on your
Barry
wall,
Windsor Smith. Yeah, I have the trade here of the first 10 issues. It's all Barry Windsor Smith artwork.
Is that one of the Valiant? From when was that?
This is an original.
One of the Valiant
one of the originals. That's what I meant to say.
And that's another reason why I ended up buying it, because I was interested in the character, but then it also had the Barry Windsor Smith artwork in it.
Well, for me, I discovered who Barry Windsor Smith was by reading the Archer and Armstrong initially, and then all this other stuff. It was funny here. I'm on this ValiantComics.com website, and I'm looking at. They have. I just was looking at Magnus, and they have the estimated print run of each issue. And issue 1, 90,000, and then it dropped down to 60,000, and then it hovered between 65, 70, 80,000, until you get to, and then it dropped back down, and then you get to the first Unity one. So before Unity, it's 55,000. Then there's the first Unity crossover, 125,000 copies. The second Unity crossover, 145,000 copies. Then you're back down into the 80s, and then you see a couple months after Unity, Valiant starts to pick up momentum. You see 135, 145, 175, 410,000 copies for issue 24. Issue 25, 900,000 copies.
That was an all-silver issue. All-silver cover issue.
And then it continues 360, 320, 280, 225, 195, and it just slowly declines from there. But, man, I mean, 900,000 copies. I don't know if they sold them all, but, man, they were...
They obviously didn't because they're at conventions all over the place.
But, I mean, the image books were pushing those... they were putting million print runs out,
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, the fan base grew because of Unity. It exploded, and a lot of people bought it, even if it's just for a short period of time.
And just looking at those Unity covers, I had forgotten that Frank Miller had done the one set of triptych ones, and I think Walt Simonson did the other one.
Yeah, he did.
This Solar that you have is actually the collection of the stories inside the inserted into the Solar books. This is Solar Zero. Was originally serialized over the first 10 issues of Solar Man of the Atom. It was unique in a number of ways. It was the first time that the origins of a major character had ever been presented in such a fashion. It also contained the world's largest comic book panel, as Jamie said, run as 2-page inserts in every issue, measuring a huge 26 by 51 inches that, when fully assembled, depicted the tragic climax. So, yeah, this is actually trading what was in the middle of each of those books.
Yeah.
I have here... Turok, a little thing on Turok, debuted,
debuted,
first appeared in 1954. The creation of writer Gaylord Dubois. He was a Plains Indian with his companion Andar. Let's see. Paul S. Newman, the creator of Solar, took over the book of Turok in issue 8. And they have here that in 1990 Acclaim Comics revived him, and then a video game was made popular. In the 2 decades that Paul S. Newman scripted the feature, he was only credited once. And that was back in the day when they weren't really crediting.
Right.
That's back when comics drew themselves.
Yeah. So what about Deathmate? Anybody get that? The Image and Valiant crossover?
Oh my God. I did. Because it was the big crossover, and oh my God, it was the Valiant had their books out on time, but not Image, and it went so bad, it went so far as Golden Eagle didn't even get the last issue of that.
Ouch!
Because it was one of those that it was so poorly advertised that we just missed the solicitation. It was one of those where they solicited in one of their weekly things, and we just missed it, and we never could get back. We never could get it in. So I mean, it was one of those. They were in colors. It was gold, black, red. Red was the last one that came out. So it was gold, black, red, and blue, I believe. Two from each company. They were supposed to be a big crossover between both companies. And oh my God, if anybody can read that and coherently give me some kind of synopsis, I'd appreciate it, because I honestly don't remember.
I picked it up because I was reading, some of the books. I was reading Cyberforce and Stormwatch and things that from the Image. So when I saw that these were crossing over, I thought, well, I got to get these, and I had a whole thing with Wildcats because that's the other one I was reading, and Void was a major part of the whole universe tie together and stuff like that. And I thought, and boy, did it drop. I mean, I never, regardless if Golden Eagle got the last issue or not, I never finished reading it because it just was like, it really went downhill. And
did you say Deathmate Yellow or was it? Because they have here Deathmate Yellow.
Yellow gold. I knew it was that color. It was like pea color.
Deathmate Prologue had a print run of 1 million.
I mean, most of the guys that, like John Hart, Steve Mazzarski, Bob Layton, they were still around when Acclaim took it over. And then there was that whole Birthquake thing with Acclaim where they tried to amp up a lot of their a lot of their run. They still had Solar, Bloodshot, Eternal Warrior, Magnus was still running, Ninjak, Shadowman, Time Walker, Turok, and the Visitor. Exo-Man of War, Armada, Windjammer. I don't even remember those.
Yeah, that was the Windjammer. That was, I'm trying to think. I think that was some of the creator-owned stuff. When they were trying some of that.
Right.
The last things I bought from Valiant were the Dr. Mirage series, and then the Visitor, when they brought the Visitor in. And
yeah, that's about the time I kind of dropped out of the universe myself.
I dug the character of the Visitor, and then also had Brian Hitch artwork, so you couldn't go wrong there either. It was a neat concept because they tied it all in with the whole universe, and then kind of put him in his own.
Sorry. There's a funny ad where they have Jan Jurgens puts a new spin on Solar. Ain't that super? Because he was
doing
Superman. Yeah. So what about? I'm sorry.
I was just going to make a comment about Deathmate. I was looking at and the Deathmate Red had a much lower print run than all the others. All the other ones were like 1,700,000. This one only had 250,000. And it said the lowest print run of the regular Deathmate books due to cancellation and resolicitation. And then you look at who was responsible for the book. Story, Rob Liefeld. Writer, Rob Liefeld and Eric Stevenson. Penciler, Rob Liefeld and his whole crew at, all those, Marat Michaels, Jeff Matsuda, Mark Pacella, all those guys, Dan Fraga, all those guys. And, of course, that was the one that was canceled and started over again,
What about, I'm seeing some other titles here, Armorines, Geomancer, Psylords. Anybody ever read any of those?
No.
Actually, it just clicked on some lights. Yeah, Armorines came out of Hardcore, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Again, it was more along the lines of like a whole bunch of Iron Men put together. What was it? What were the other ones? Geomancer was out. That was out of
Unity,
I believe Unity, but I think it was also Shadow Man.
Yeah.
That was the Geomancer was like the bad guy or the. You weren't sure if he was a bad guy or not from Shadow Man.
But who was the little kid that used to hang around Eternal Warrior? There was a guy that was in touch with the kid that was in touch with the Earth.
That may be the one.
I think
maybe that's the one you're talking about.
Because then the guy, was he blind or something in Geomancer? The guy that had the bandana on his head.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I was totally wrong on that one.
Yeah, I think that because he was like.
I think they may have had something to do with Shadow Man, though.
Oh, I'm sure.
Somewhere down the road.
I'm not doubting that.
Again, those universes collided. Psylords, I don't remember much about that one at all.
Cover.
Okay, now that I'm looking at it.
I don't even remember seeing that ever.
I remember
but it was presented in Valiant Vision.
Oh, the 3D crappy version.
I have the Valiant Vision starter kit over in my room right there on my pile to get rid of on eBay.
Well, I actually have that down because it was clear lens glasses, polarized glasses, and it was supposed to give the artwork a sense of depth. Red was supposed to stand out. Blue was supposed to recede. They said in the article that it technically was not 3D, and they said that the glasses could have been used with any comic regardless of whether or not it was a Valiant Vision. And that was in, say, mid-'93. By mid-'94, the line was canceled because of contract disputes with the manufacturer over the film used in the glasses. They tried it, and it went nowhere fast.
Gee.
Valiant Vision. That's hysterical.
Wow, this is a trip down memory lane.
I know. I haven't stepped in this universe for a long time.
And like we said, I see Valiant at every convention.
Sure. Yeah, you usually find it in a 25-cent box right now. But
it's
worth it.
It's worth every penny.
It's worth digging. I mean, I can't say it's worth digging some of the older ones we were just talking about, like Psylords and Geomancer. I can't put my stamp of approval on that one. But I'm talking the ones I originally started talking about.
Ones.
Yep, Harbinger, Exo, Dr. Solar. If Magnus sounded interesting, try Find Magnus.
Eternal Warrior.
Yeah, and you can even find some of these older ones. Some, like I said, some of the ones that were tougher to find. They'll maybe cost you $2-3 instead of 50 cents, but they're out there. People have them. People are looking to get rid of them. I mean, I have a copy of that Eternal Warrior Gold. That was a giveaway. That used to be I used to look at that each month and Wizard go, oh, yeah, that's $250. That's $300. I looked at it the other day. It's like $45. I was like, oh, crap.
Should have sold when it was hot.
Yeah, I was going to say, I should have sold this. $200. Somebody offered me $200 one time. I said, no, I'm not going to sell this. I was like, what a fucking idiot. Oh.
I'm going to read a little from an article with Jim Shooter. He said, and this was something I don't want to take this tangent, but he raised $81 million in capital with a group of business partners to buy out Marvel after he was pushed out, fired, which I didn't know. I was like, ooh. But anyway, in 1989, he assembled another group of business partners and founded Valiant at Voyager and Valiant, which quickly became the third most successful publisher after Marvel and DC. He threw his hat back into the writing ring with Magnus and Solar, which met critical acclaim. They capitalized on the early 90s comic boom, but after just 2 years of publishing, Shooter was ousted again. And he says, they voted to fire me because I didn't want to sell the company. They dumped everyone who was loyal to me out on the streets. And if you read some of the other interviews, the other side, their answer was that Jim Shooter wanted to take the company into a different way than they thought the company should have gone, and I guess that's why you got Unity and some of the other things.
See, that's a shame.
I should have ran with it because God only knows how good it could have been. You know?
I mean, when I heard that he got ousted out of that, I just was like, I felt bad for Jim Shooter because it's like he did a lot for comics, and when he was the editor-in-chief of Marvel, and he got a raw deal, I thought there, and then when he started Valiant and it started taking off, I thought this is cool. You know, he can, and he's doing it again, and it worked. Mm-hmm. So it shows that the guy knows what he's doing. He's not just some schmuck. So then to find out that there's this whole thing broke apart and fairly quickly, and they pushed him out again. I was like, man, all a dumb luck. But
yeah, I don't know the backstory, but I know he took a lot of crap at Marvel, and maybe some of it was earned, maybe some of it wasn't. I wasn't there in any of the meetings, but I know he did a lot. He tried to do a lot for the artist and the writer at Marvel, and
I mean, he did a lot with the stories and the character development and to all that. But his major contribution to it was the freelance aspect of getting royalties for the writers and artists, and doing the benefits and things, like treating it more like a business, actually paying people and treating them like they are employees, and did a lot for the industry as well. And he took a lot of crap for that, but he's the man that did it, and he's the one that stood up and pushed it. So he may took a lot of crap, but there's a lot of people that can really be grateful for what he established.
Yeah, he tried 2 other times after Valiant to do it, and they just never took off. There was Defiant, which was bad, and Broadway Comics, which that kind of tried to hook its star into the bad girl boom, and that just they unfortunately came at the end of the bad girl boom, so it didn't take off either.
So I know there's a lot of people out there who love Valiant, and I'm sure they'll start a thread on the forum about it.
Us among them. I'm a huge fan.
So, and we didn't talk about that Chaos event, but there's not much you can talk about.
Chaos Effect, I don't even remember much on that.
Well, moving on, while looking through one of these copies of Wizard, there's one from April 1995, and there's an interview with Chuck Dixon.
Yeah.
And they have
a giant. Had this for the last episode.
They have a giant quote here that says, "Moon Knight, on the surface, is Batman, but Moon Knight would have to stand on a chair to kiss Batman's butt. Moon Knight is a great costume with no character in it." I just thought, Kevin,
and you wonder why Mark Spector flopped.
Yeah, I just thought that was funny. I saw it. I had to.
And to me, to say something like that, then what are you doing on the book?
Did it say a wonderful white character with costume with?
I guess brown for kissing Batman's ass.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I wish I would have had that to share with Charlie, just to give an idea. I didn't either. I didn't remember it either.
I think the only interesting story during his run was when Mark Spector was put on trial.
That was I thought was an interesting concept. At least it was somebody, he kind of actually put a little thought into it and pulled something from the past and something that actually could have tangibly happened. And I agree with you. I thought the concept was cool. It wasn't executed very well, but it was the most interesting thing he ever did on the book. That's for sure. But I mean, if you read that thing, it clearly sees that he had no interest in the character whatsoever.
Peter, we're still working our way through the giant pile from your last request.
The giant pile from his what?
Last request. This one is from Matthew Park. He goes by Zumbini on the forum.
Okay.
This first question is the perfect kind of question that you love. Okay, so get ready. By my count, there are 41 Avengers who have had a solo series. Name 30 of them. Now listen. Rules. New Avengers. Rules. New Avengers and West Coast Avengers count. Reserve members count. Honorary members don't. The same person counts as one. So if Clint Barton had a Goliath series and a Hawkeye series, it would only count as one. Since there are more Avengers with series than without, the first time he names someone wrong, he loses. Otherwise, he can keep naming members until he gets 30.
Can I at least write some down? Or?
Well, yeah, right.
Well, talk amongst yourselves a little bit.
That's a hell of a question.
Give me that wizard that you just had there.
I'll do a quick off the rack, if you'd like. Yes, I'd like to do a blonde's rack. Thank you very much, Matt. I just read Jonah Hex issues 1 and 2 of the new series.
Yeah.
Jimmy
No kidding.
Jimmy Palmiotti.
My thoughts exactly.
With Justin Gray, and it was really good. It was one of those series. I was talking to Scott, our friend over at the comic shop, that it was unique in the fact that this is a new series, yet they didn't do the traditional origin issue. You kind of just went right into an issue. They were each standalone issues, which is great because you don't have to worry about not getting issue 1 or missing out on a storyline. The only thing we said, the artist is definitely taking pictures of Clint Eastwood and it's one of those photorealistic artist type deals. He's taking pictures of Clint Eastwood and putting the Jonah Hex scar on him, which is fine. It works. The story is good, and I highly recommend it to anybody.
Luke Ross, right? The artist?
I think so, yeah. Anybody who enjoys a good Western it's a good Western with more of today's spin of like Unforgiven and some of those series is going to enjoy it. I haven't read number 3 yet, although people I've talked to said just as good. And I think this one kind of is one that's going to continue into the next one. But to me, it's refreshing to see a comic book series where I don't have to worry if I got number 1 or not.
Yeah.
Hey, I've been reading the Jonah Hex showcase, and it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's very good stuff, and the artwork is absolutely gorgeous, and the stories are entertaining. It's kind of like the same thing over and over again a little bit, but it's still fun, and yeah. I'm having. It's definitely the most readable of the showcases so far.
But yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with a little of the same because your favorite comic of all time is
right.
Just
oh yeah,
the same
thing every
same
issue.
Joke every issue.
Right.
But as long as it's good, you don't care if it's the same thing every issue.
You think you got it, Peter?
I have 30.
Okay, so
all right. I kind of went through I was trying to go through chronologically. Captain America.
Yes.
You have to look through these, right?
Yeah.
Iron Man.
Yes.
Hulk.
Yes.
Thor. Hawkeye.
Yes.
And then I jumped up to the phony guys. U.S. Agent. War Machine.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes,
yep.
both of them.
Yep.
She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Thunderstrike.
Let me find that one. Just make sure he has it on the list. Yeah. Yeah.
Quicksilver.
Yeah.
Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, God, they're not in alphabetical order. Yeah.
Vision.
Yeah.
Currently, we have Spider-Man, Spider-Woman.
Let's see if he has these here. Yeah.
I see Spider-Woman and Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
We know
yeah.
Spider-Woman. That's sure.
Spider-Woman.
Sentry.
Yeah.
Luke Cage.
Yeah.
Beast.
Yep.
Yep.
Tigra.
Yep.
Thing.
Yep. I know I saw the thing.
Yeah, it's down further, right above, right below War Machine.
Okay, yeah.
Machine Man,
Yep.
Black Panther,
Yep.
Black Widow,
Yep.
Black Knight,
Yep.
Jack of Hearts,
I think I saw that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Miss Marvel, Ms. Marvel,
Yep.
Firestar,
Yep.
Quasar,
Yep.
Namor,
Yep.
Wonder Man,
Yep.
and the Two Gun Kid.
Yep.
That's 30. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30.
Yeah.
Oh, Moon Knight, yeah.
Yeah. Falcon.
Falcon, I guess.
Hellcat.
Hellcat.
Dr. Druid.
Hercules.
Hercules.
Ant-Man.
Darkhawk.
Firestar.
Ant-Man have one?
He said Firestar. What is that?
Ant-Man have? I was trying to, because I thought about him as the
Ant-Man
original.
didn't have one.
Ant-Man didn't have his own series.
He was in Marvel Premiere for...
Right, he did.
Like
Yeah.
Oh, then he's got one wrong on here. So
Yeah, I
there
wouldn't
you
call
go.
that his own series.
All right. Question number 2.
Yeah. Even more.
Oh, what am I talking about? Ant-Man. Yeah, Ant-Man had his own series.
Did he?
Yeah, it was in the Tales of Suspense, Tales to Astonish.
Oh, well, I see now that's...
Was it titled Ant-Man?
Yeah,
No.
because believe me, I have an entire
Big.
essential Ant-Man. So it was.
But the title of the book was Tales
Yeah, it
of
was
Astonish.
Tales of Astonish, I guess, with Ant-Man and whoever.
Yeah, they had
Yeah,
Giant
it was
Man and
Giant Man, yeah.
Hulk was in it.
Oh, well, that looks like faulty with the ones that don't have a series. Because it. Look who else is on.
Who's he?
However,
Who's
he
say
got
that?
it.
Yeah, I got
Huh?
it. I got it.
Next.
Okay. Question 2. DC. The planet Korrigar has produced 3 Green Lanterns. Name them.
Sinestro, Katmatui,
Mm-hmm.
and the new one in the Green Lantern Recharge is, they call her Natu.
Yes.
N-A-T-U.
Yes. Sora Nick Natu.
Soranik, okay.
So there you go. Very good, Peter. Question 3.
My-
Independent. Under Warren Ellis's tenure on Stormwatch, he split the group up into 3 teams of 3. Name the teams and who was in each group.
Jesus. Holy mackerel.
And then do my laundry.
Is that's before Authority, so I'm not going to
Yeah,
get it,
that's
but it's
before
like
Authority.
Jack Hawksmoor and Midnighter and Apollo, and is there somebody like Winterfire, but
There's a Mount
Fuji a part of that?
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't tell you what the splitting up thing is.
All right. It's Stormwatch Prime was Winter, Fuji, and Hellstrike. Stormwatch Red was Fahrenheit, Flint, and Rose. And Stormwatch Black was Jenny Sparks, Jack Hawksmoor, and Swift.
Oh, Swift, yeah. Wings.
I didn't realize Jenny Sparks was in the Stormwatch stuff before Authority.
Yep.
Cool.
There you go. Well, you still did very
They're
well, though.
friggin'. That's insane.
2 out of 3, buddy. Same.
But those are the kind of questions you like.
I do.
Uh-huh.
I do. You're right.
That's the ultimate, though. I mean, that's freaking taking it to the limit there.
Name 50 Legionnaires that have brown hair.
You could probably do it.
Is that going to make its way into your trivia game, Peter?
No. Because that's so ever changing. That's so it's so
Because
hard.
I didn't come up with it.
Oh, shut up.
Busted.
Somebody beat me at my own game. Well, actually, they didn't.
Wah.
You got anything queuing up over there?
I'm working on some voicemails, so if you got something, go for it.
To go along with our Year in Comics 2005 creator reviews, Rob Schwager, color artist, sent me a really cool response, very heartfelt about his own personal take, and most of it I felt so too personal to read, on the air, but I will. His closing paragraph was really cool. So he says, "So I guess maybe my statement could be that I'm really glad that there's folks out there like you guys who can still make a jaded guy like myself get a small feeling of excitement in my heart when I listen to your podcast. To hear how passionately you guys talk about comics, it makes me feel like a kid again, and I like that feeling. So thank you, best Rob Schwager."
Cool.
I thought that was kind of cool.
Put a smile on my face.
Yeah, we get a lot of comments like that, and a lot of emails and stuff, and it's really cool that we're igniting the flame of comics in people, and getting them to read more books and get excited, and
realize that there's good stuff out there.
That's exciting to me. And I mean, I've read just as many new books as a result of this show as anyone. And I think that's very cool, and it's a great side effect of the show that I don't get that from reading Wizard. And I don't even necessarily get that from reading CBG. I get a little bit from back issue because of this old stuff that I missed out on. But when it comes to new books, I don't get that from many other sources.
Well, it's easy to tear down, and it's not that easy to build up or to say good things. And I think we say it where it's not coming from a publicist's mouth. It's not you're not reading it going, oh yeah, well there's a publicist behind it saying that, or we have enough of the trust of our audience that realizes that if we say it, we're going to mean it. And me personally, I won't say it if I don't mean it. So I think that's one of the things we hit. We just strike a chord with people.
I like the forum thread of tell us about yourself or how you heard about us and stuff like that, because there's a lot of that as well where they'll mention. I got out of comics. Listening to you guys, I got back into comics. This is what I used to read. This is now what I am reading because of you guys. Every single recommendation has been a hit. And that's kind of cool to see, like you just said, to see all these people. Because, it's one of those hobbies that if you're not sharing with somebody else, you can live in your own vacuum, but then you can become a little jaded and become, either...
blinders up, more or less.
Yeah, you're going to be a little... You're not going to want to try new things, and you're only going to stick with what you like, and that's tough.
They're very conservative as far as...
Yeah.
You were saying, living in your own little vacuum. That's why I would move heaven and hell to come whenever we used to do things, not this,
right,
but when we used to get together and just, sit around and talk. I would move heaven and hell to make sure I could be there because I didn't have that anymore. I had left the comic shop. I'd go in. I had my one friend who's still working at the comic shop. We'd talk about it. But he and I know each other's taste so well that, it's not, I'm not getting anything different. But to hear the rest of us, and we bring such varied tastes, as we keep saying, I know this sounds like a broken record, but it's just, that's why I love just talking and be able to sit here and talk about this, and knowing there are other people out there that share my views, that don't share my views, that tell me to shut the hell up. It's just great. Yeah, because you guys have never been shy about telling me to shut the hell up. So
he'll move heaven and hell except when it comes to a Royals game. It's like, I gotta go to the game.
Shut up. I'm coming on Saturday, so shut up.
Well, and I also like that the audience has gotten in on that deal, and through the forum and emails has recommended things to us, and we've listened to them, and we've been thankful for that.
Circle.
And I love that we're not. I like that we're not in this alone, because this show would not be as much fun to do if it was only the 5 or 6 of us in this room, because the audience is 2,500 other people to help to give back to us. It makes it just so much fun and more grandiose. So let's listen to some of the audience right now.
Hi, DGS. This is BT Moose talking to you. Yeah, I've been gone a long time. You're probably wondering, where the heck has he been? Well, I've tried the adult film industry, and that didn't work. Of course, now I guess the adult film industry doesn't need me, since now it appears they have someone new. Jamie the Big Finish D'Alessandro over there. Cue the porno music. Bum 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 bum. Chicka boom 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 chicka boom 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 chicka boom boom. Anyway, to the real reason I'm calling. I just recently listened to that episode with the Los Comicos, Geekos, those guys. Talking about the mysteries, the unexplained mysteries of whatever in the comic book industry, in the comic book field. Well, no one even bothered to ask about the unexplained mysteries of the cartoon field. I'm living proof. And I'm not the only one, but I'm the one that's pretty ticked off right now. You know what it's like to have people come up to you and say, "Hey, Moose, what are you, some kind of eunuch?" They didn't exactly aim towards the bull in my first name, did they? But I always was able to explain it away saying, hey, I just have a lot of fur. Now you got animals like Garfield and Snoopy and Huckleberry Hound and Yogi Bear. They couldn't do anything about it. There's not a whole lot of, at least I showed I had fur. But I guess I'm just a little bitter. But anyway, I just wanted to say I like the show, and I'll continue to listen. And I've got to go now because I need to go downstairs in the basement and slap Rocky around a little bit. Oh, and imagine this. Imagine how many times, during that bit where I do my little magic act, and I'd say, hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. And he'd say, oh, no, not again. Do you know how many times I wanted to say, hey, Rocky, watch me pull something out of my fur? Okay, gotta go. Bye now.
All right, I take back everything I said about our audience.
Oh, my God.
We'll just go right into the next one because I'm not even sure what to say about it.
Good evening, gentlemen of Comic Geek Speak. My name is Thomas. I'm from Ridgewood, Queens, New York. I'm the person, actually, who sent the Stump the Rios concerning the Atlas Comic stuff. And, yes, there's another one coming very, very soon, but I promise there will be no Atlas Comics questions on this one. I wanted to call to comment on two things. One is I'm only into the mid-40s right now. I'm working my way backwards when there's not a new episode in reserve. And one of my favorites was the one where you went and discussed the New Universe and 2099. And I was wondering if you would be interested in doing a topic once about some of the other new superhero universes that came out during the 90s. I'm thinking specifically of stuff like Dark Horse's Comics Greatest World, or the infamous Malibu Ultraverse comics. And the second thing was concerning the Second Chance villain episode. I have two suggestions. You guys were really confused as to what sort of name to give your villain, who for some reason I am visualizing as having a big blank globe for a head and an Armani three-piece suit, but that's neither here nor there. Two names that came immediately to my mind. One is, I don't know if anyone's worked in radio. I've worked in radio for about 4 years when I was younger, and when we needed to make a new tape, we needed to remove material that was taped that we no longer needed and needed to make new cassettes. We would put it through a degausser, a magnetic thing, and these erased tapes would be called cleans. And I thought maybe clean might be an interesting name because it signifies something blank, something like a clean slate, so to speak, something that is without form, that is to be remolded. And the other one I came up with was Shrive. Now, Shrive is it's a verb, and it means, that's right, it's a verb, and it means to relieve someone of a burden. And in the case of your villain, what Shrive is doing is he's relieving his victims of the burden of life. Look for that brand new Stump the Rios. I think I'm going to get you this time. And you guys have a great day. So long.
What the hell's so funny over there? You guys have some private joke?
Yeah. It's not worthy.
I thought when he was talking about the company thing, I thought he was going to say Malibu and Valiant.
Yeah,
it's
I know.
Like, wow, how spot on is that voicemail?
I forgot about that Dark Horse. I read a bunch of those books. Those
were like only $1 when they came out. They were pretty good.
They were pretty good.
There was some Perez in there and some other guys, and the Malibu universe actually was pretty good too.
I got sucked into that. I really did. In '93 when that first came out, I was all over that. I was buying all that stuff.
You had a bunch of that crap too.
Yeah. Another episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Anybody have anything else to say?
Apparently not.
Apparently not.
We are talked out.
Even though this episode is going to air after the event, we're all having our dinner. We're having a Christmas dinner. We have an annual Christmas dinner, and we're having it this weekend. Obviously, we're recording this before it airs.
Yeah.
Well, duh.
That makes sense.
Brilliant.
And it's just a way for us to get together. I'm looking forward to it because it's always a lot of fun to get together with these guys and the significant others.
I was going to say, and the significant others. That's the fun part.
You mean all three of them?
Which and eventually it just segregates into two units as well.
Sure. We're having it at Matt's house at the Manor.
So the guys sitting around talking about comics, the girls falling asleep.
When the trivia comes out, that's when the women leave because they drove in separate cars.
Am I bringing the trivia?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, I was going to say.
In the past, well, no, it didn't happen last year because we were at the restaurant. But yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, they don't care.
Why not? We can only play Clue so many times.
This episode of Comic Geek Speak was brought to you by Gerber Products, the industry leader in long-term storage sleeves for your collection. Visit them at www.egerber.com. Gerber Products, the protector for the collector. Kevin will place an order very soon.
You bet. Well, you said you want something, right?
That's what I mean. I said wheel.
Oh, I thought you okay. Cool.
If you want to send us an email, it's comicgeekspeak@gmail.com, and our website is comicgeekspeak.com. And thanks to the guys at upallnightgaming.com for hosting the website. If you want to leave us a voicemail and not as the the moose, you can do so at 206-888-4805. And please vote for us at Podcast Alley. As usual, we're brought to you in conjunction with worldfamouscomics.com, your spot on the internet for the best comic book and entertainment-related columns, contests, features, reviews, news, resources, and more. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.